Hey everyone, Book Club Mom here. We're having an author chat with Robbie Cheadle, all the way from South Africa. And Robbie, I meant to first of all, so welcome. Thank you for joining me today. Really appreciate it. I think we're gonna have a fun chat.
Thank you, Barbara. I must say I'm really excited to be here
Oh,
and talking to you.
that's great. So, interesting fact. I was thinking, wow, we are really far apart from each other. And so I looked it up. We're 7,800 miles apart. So we're crossing two oceans, the North Atlantic and what is it? Oh, I have it up on is it the South Atlantic? What's the ocean hold on, let me
I'm
jump.
not really good on oceans.
Okay, hold on. I don't know what this is going to do with my,
I know you are now a 7-hour time difference because your clocks must have changed.
we changed tonight.
Oh, okay, okay, all
So,
right.
yes, we gain an hour tonight, which is really awesome.
Okay.
So, let me just look at the oceans because I have it up here and I'm not going to share this, but, here we go. It's yes, from me to you is 18 hours and 5 minutes by plane, and it crosses from the North Atlantic into the South Atlantic.
Oh,
So
okay, all
that's
right,
pretty
well done.
amazing. Yeah.
Yes,
So,
it is
all right. So let's
quite a
go back
distance.
full screen. Okay. All right. So if you don't, I've got to know Robbie. It's probably like 3 or 4 years. It might even be longer because I've been blogging for 10 years. How long have you been out there?
I started in 2016. So Michael and I launched our first book and someone suggested starting a blog. So I
Okay.
started in about October 2016.
Okay. All right. I know we found each other. We follow a lot of the same people. And that's often how you find people on WordPress, especially, but also in social media. I feel, do you have an Instagram account? You do, don't you?
I do. I'm a
Yes.
little negligent of it, but I do
Oh,
have
it's hard.
one.
It's hard to keep it all up, honestly. You have to kind of focus on what's what your best, well, the best use of your time, but also the most fun. So
Exactly.
opinion. So anyway, if you don't know Robbie, she's the author of Through the Nethergate, While the Bombs Fell, and A Ghost in His Gold, this Sir Chocolate series. And those are three entirely distinct genres. So Through the Nethergate, that's short stories, horror stories, is that right?
No, Through the Nethergate is actually a novel.
Oh, I
It's a young
misunderstood.
adult novel.
Oh,
Yes, I have got short stories in a lot of anthologies.
okay.
That's how I started. I started with children's books, and Michael and I wrote them together. And the first one went out in 2016, as I mentioned. And we continued with that. But I actually met up with a chap on the blog called Dan Alatorre. He's
Yes.
quite a successful writer, and he used to run a horror writing challenge. And I got to know him and entered one of his short story challenges, and that was the very first attempt I made at writing a short story. And he helps a bit with a bit of editing. It's called The Willow Tree, and that went
Oh,
into
okay.
an anthology. And from there, I just got confidence and started writing. So that was how the adult writing started.
Writing short stories is a very specific skill. I mean, you can't, you have things that you have to do to build the momentum and then tie everything up and then end with a surprise a lot of times. Do you agree with that or?
I do. I think lately I've been writing a lot more short stories. I find them, I suppose I just find them a lot easier to write. They sort of quick. The momentum keeps going.
Mhm.
As you say, you build up your suspense, and you end with an interesting, twisting ending. Hopefully, um, so yeah, I quite enjoy that. That's mainly what I'm doing at the moment.
Well,
So a lot of short stories because they are easier and a little bit quicker and I suppose easier to focus on at
yeah.
when you work and there's so many other things.
Mhm. Now, While the Bombs Fell, that is about World War II, correct? And that is, you did
It
that with
is.
your mom, right?
I did. So that is my mom's story. It is fictionalized because she was only one when the Second World War broke out. She was the daughter. She was actually the youngest daughter of a farmer who lived in Suffolk in the United Kingdom, and thus he was. He didn't need to go and fight in the war because he was a farmer, growing food for the population. And it's her story, obviously hers and memories of her siblings, of what life was like at that time in the UK. It's not a heavy going story. There isn't really, Bangui was only bombed once during the war, and then Norwich, which is the closest big city, was bombed. So those do make an appearance, and the children were aware, and they went into bomb shelters, and it impacted their lives. But it was more about how the war affected civilians in England. The short food shortages and some of the fun stuff they did, and how they managed to do Christmas and make Christmas cakes, and saving up for the whole year for the sugar and the fruit and that type of thing. So it was really intended to teach modern children what life was like for children at that time.
Yeah. That sounds really interesting. I do have it on my Kindle. I haven't read it yet. So, and now A Ghost in His Gold. Oh, that's the one. A Ghost in His Gold. That is well, tell me about that.
That is an adult historical novel.
Yes. Okay.
And that started life also as a short story, because my tendency is towards short stories. So I started writing it. It was based on, in South Africa, we had one of our early presidents was called Jan Smuts, and I have been several times to his home, which is near Pretoria. And it is believed to be haunted. And the man who haunts it was actually the idea for Peter, who is one of the main characters in A Ghost in His Gold. So I always had the end of short stories or novels when I start. So I had the idea for the ending. I wrote the story, and it ended up getting quite long. So I think it ended up being about 15,000 words when I had finished, which is a long, quite long. It's a novella almost. And I sent it off to the lady who helps me with my developmental editing, Esther Chilton in the UK, and she came back and she made a lot of suggestions. I think she got quite caught up in the history, so she made suggestions about developing secondary characters and growing the story. And that we had at that point, I think, just gone into the lockdowns, into the COVID lockdowns. So I had nowhere to go. So a bit of extra time. So I was able to do all the research, and South African history. I love history, and I like South African history. So I was able to develop those ideas, and it's split into well, actually there's five. There's five major characters. It's on two timelines, a present day timeline and a historical timeline. The reason for the two timelines was really to jazz up the history, make it, more palatable for modern readers, because the aim of the book was to share the history of the Anglo-Boer War, the Second Anglo-Boer War in South Africa.
Well, that's great. And now Sir Chocolate series, that's the series that you write with your son.
Yes, and we have a new one. The first book is up for pre-order.
What's it called?
It's called Nima the Misfit Giraffe. So we are quite into wildlife. We go on a lot of you call them safaris. We call it going into the bush. To see animals. Well, safari is a familiar term to most
for us.
travelers.
Yes. Are they sponsored? Like, do you pay somebody to drive you through all of that, or how does that work?
Yes. No, because you can't go into the bush some places are self-drive, but you're much more likely to have better sightings and see the animals if you're with a guide. And obviously, I always feel safer with a guide because animals, they have, they can be, I'm always quite wary of them because of all the animals that we see, you're most likely to get into trouble with an elephant. They're the ones who could potentially roll a car.
That
Most animals won't
surprises me.
attract. Sorry?
I
Yeah,
said
it
that
does.
surprises me because I think of tigers and lions and tigers and do you have bears down there?
No, no bears, no tigers. Although we do like to tease the guides. And then they ask, what would you like to see? And we always tell them we want to see a bear, tiger, and a kangaroo. Because we don't get any of
No
those
kangaroos.
here.
Those are more Australia, right? I mean, are there
That's
kangaroos in
Australia.
other
So
parts of the
we
world?
have,
Yeah. I'm sounding
we have
totally ignorant, so I'm
No,
sorry.
no, it's not a problem. We have the big five here. So we have the African elephant, which is different to the Indian elephant. Then we have the lion, we have the leopard, we have the buffalo, and which one have I left out now? I've left one of them out.
You have
No, I can't
cats, as I see one walking behind you.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yes, I
No,
think
no,
she's
I'm enjoying that.
I think she wants to go out. Anyway, so most people will come here to see the big five. We also have the ugly five, and we have the little five, which are I'm trying to think which one I've left out now, but because I'm speaking to you, I can't think of it.
Of
But never
course.
mind. Anyway, Nima. So we take a lot of photographs and we take a lot of videos. And I had recently written Lion Scream, which is a book of poetry, which went out that one went out in March. That one was a bit of a self-indulgence because it's basically about the sixth mass extinction and the effect of climate change on Southern African wildlife. But it was quite successful. People really liked the videos and they liked the photographs. I've had a lot of good feedback on that book where people really bought into the idea. So then I had the idea of doing the same for children. So Michael and I together have done this book, Nima the Misfit Giraffe, and it's a little story in rhyming verse, a little bit longer than the Sir Chocolate stories. And it's all about a very dark giraffe, which we actually did see. So I've got real photographs of that giraffe. And in the story, Nima has to go and find new friends because her herd are a bit unwelcoming and they don't, they're not very kind to her. So she leaves to find friends, and of course, it has a happy ending. Okay. And then I've also got some of my own illustrations in it. So I think there's
nice. Yes.
5 drawings.
You're like an accomplished artist too.
Well, that was Bob, do you mind if I just let the cat out because I think she's a bit distressed.
Go for it. Yes,
take 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, go for it.
Come on, you. Come on. Sorry, she's going to sit there and howl. I didn't realize she was in here and I shut the door. So she got shut in and she doesn't like
that. Fondant, Robbie is a baker. Well, you love to cook and you love to bake. And yes. One of the things that Robbie is really good at, and I always enjoy seeing these pictures, are the fondant design, which is like a sugary design of like a confection for the tops of cakes, etc. But also you use them in your Sir Chocolate series, correct?
I do, and that is because Sir Chocolate, he's a little man made of chocolate. He lives in a world where you can eat everything. He has a little friend called Lady Sweet. She's made out of obviously sweets, and they have little adventures. It's for quite young children. I would say age 2 with the parent reading, obviously, to about 9. Also rhyming verse to encourage reading, but it is a first baking book. So it has, each book has got 4 or 5 little recipes in it that children can do under caregivers' supervision.
Clever. I used to love to bake with my kids when they were younger. And, we'd have a mess in the kitchen, but a lot of measuring, and then just it was fun. They're happy memories of that. Um, I want to ask you, what got you, because you're so diverse, what got you interested in writing horror? I it's so much different from writing children's books, and your poetry and your historical fiction, etc. So tell us about that.
So I've always read horror. It was always my go-to genre. I was a very advanced reader at a very young age. So my mother likes horror, and I'd run through all the books in the library where we lived. We lived in a small town, in quite a small town in the Western Cape. So it was quite a conservative society. So a child couldn't take books out of the adults sections. So when I ran out of books, I moved on to my mom's. And my mom had an enormous amount of horror. Specifically, she had a lot of Stephen King's. So when I was 10, I started reading those, and I loved them. They did scare me. But I remember
They did.
distinctly, yeah, they did. I remember reading The Shining and being
Oh my gosh. Well, I always cite that one because I saw that movie and have never been the same.
No, and the movie is really not. It's not a patch on the story, because it leaves out all the sort of psychology of the book. A lot of the psychology you won't see. And the other one I read was Salem's Lot, which was even more scary. And I've always liked that genre. So I don't really consider that I write horror. I would say that my stories, even A Ghost in His Gold, the horror elements, I would still say that it's not horror like King horror, or it's certainly not. I don't like a lot of blood and guts and that type of thing. I have very distinct lines that I won't cross. So a lot of my darkest stories are actually paranormal, sort of ghosts, and I like to tell historical stories through the medium of horror, where either the character will die in the story, or it is a ghost
I see.
who's
Okay.
telling its story.
Right.
So I'm actually working on a collection of all the paranormal short stories that I've had them in a significant number of anthologies. I think I've been in about 10. So I've got 16 short paranormal stories, and they're very varied. One is about, for example, the destruction of the pink and white terraces in New Zealand in 1886, when the volcano erupted and it was buried. So that's one. And one is about the Mayan, they had child sacrifices. And then various other types of stories. There's one about the Canary Girls in World War One. So I put them all together into a collection, but they're all, in all of them, the main character will usually die or will be a ghost. But they aren't the sort of hardcore horror, if you understand. They're intended to share historical information and entertain.
Well, thank you for explaining that. That's really helpful. So you run 2 blogs, Robbie's Inspiration and Roberta Writes, both on WordPress. And I will share all of that below in the description. So anyone who's when you're watching this and you're curious, you can jump to the links there. So poet, painter, we talked about that just a tiny bit, but have you just gotten into that, or have you been drawing and painting for a while? Because you seem...
No, I haven't. I started in March.
That's crazy. I mean, I can only draw like a certain kind of face, and it's more cartoon. I cannot draw or paint. So
well, I never tried. I mean, I did art. Everyone does art at school in South Africa, but it's you finish it. You pick your subjects when you go into high school, and then you drop subjects. So I didn't take art for various reasons, although I did enjoy it. And I never ever considered, I didn't think I could draw. I never tried. And then a friend told me about a charcoal course, a 3-hour course that they were having. So I actually booked it for Michael because I wanted to encourage him, and I thought it would be good for him. You can't do a lot of sports. I thought, well, this will be a nice thing that he can do. And produced a couple of pieces from that, and then I've just sort of carried on and I've branched into other things.
Yeah. You've
So I'm
done
doing some
watercolors, haven't you?
illustrations as well. I have done only 2, and I'm doing another workshop. We're going, Michael and I, on the 18th of November for
Oh,
another one.
nice.
It's our little thing that we're doing, the watercolor. But I've been doing some illustrations. I've got with Kaylin Booth, she's got three books called Backyard Animals series. So I'm illustrating those 3 books that will all go out together next year, and then my own. And I'm doing the colors out the way I wanted to. Yeah, so I'm having a lot of fun with the drawing.
Up here we have this thing. I have never done it, but you go to a place and you book a group, and you paint something. You drink wine and then you paint, and you get instruction on how to paint. And everybody paints the same thing, but of course
Okay.
there's a lot of variation. And there was one near us and it's not there anymore. I don't know whether it's, you kind of, I think that's kind of like the type of thing that you do once, maybe with a group of friends, but you might not do that every month or so. So it's possible that business moved somewhere else because a lot of people
Okay.
did it in the beginning. So all right. Well, Robbie, I want to have you back because there's so many things to talk about, and I hope you would come back for I don't know, maybe we can talk about, I'm really into understanding how you do those fondant designs because that's artistic as well. So maybe we can have a whole segment on that. Would you be interested in that?
Yes, no, I'd love to come back. There were
Okay.
so many things to talk about that we didn't
Oh,
focus
I know.
on anything. But yeah, that would be great. I could maybe bring some to show, on
Yes,
camera.
that would be great. And also I can pop them into the video as
Okay, no,
pictures
that's
too.
super. I've
So we
got
can do
quite a
that.
lot
I'm
of
getting a little
how-tos.
better at my editing. So
On my Robbie's inspiration, there's a page that shows you the steps on quite a few of the little characters and things.
very nice. Well, I'll pop a couple of those into this one so that we can intrigue our viewers. So
Sounds super.
well, thank you so much for coming on, Robbie. And I wish you lots of success with everything that you do. I don't know how you find the time to do everything, but you're like, you're younger than I am, so you must have more energy than I do. But hats off to you on that. All right. So thank you again for watching, and we'll see you again soon.